Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite tonight was from the Liacouras Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the show just ended. And Dynamite tonight, I thought it was a good show, but Grand Slam, in my opinion, was better than tonight's show, in my opinion. But can't believe it's been a week already since Grand Slam. It was such an awesome show, being there live, seeing Serena, aka Paige, come back, make her AEW debut from Jericho, beating Claudio for the Ring of Honor World Championship, to Jon Moxley winning the AEW World Championship. But tonight on Dynamite, we had Bryan Danielson versus Matt Menard. Jon Moxley took on Juice Robinson. We had a Lumberjack match, or a Lumberjill match, for the Interim AEW Women's World Championship. It was Toni Storm versus Serena Deeb. And the main event, you had Chris Jericho versus Bandito, and the Ring of Honor World Championship was on the line. But overall, Dynamite tonight, like I said, was a good show, but I thought Grand Slam was much better than Dynamite tonight. That's just my opinion. But I thought the show flew by quickly tonight. Those 2 hours just flew by like that. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. Dynamite opened up tonight with the Jericho Appreciation Society. They end up coming out to celebrate Chris Jericho's win, of him winning the Ring of Honor World Championship, which we saw last week at Grand Slam, where he defeated Claudio Castagnoli in the opening match to Grand Slam, which I thought was a very good match. So they all end up coming out. They were wearing purple suits. Jericho was going by the ACO, which you saw on his nameplate on the Ring of Honor World Championship. So in the ring, there was a table with pizzas on the table, and there was a purple carpet. There was balloons in there that resembled the number 8. And the Jericho Appreciation Society went all out for Jericho here. So the crowd was singing along to Judas, of course, by Fozzy. So Angelo Parker got on the mic, and he kept saying to the Philly crowd to appreciate them, appreciate the Jericho Appreciation Society. He kept saying that we know Philly is the city of losers, and that the Jericho Appreciation Society is here to give you the gift of celebrating an actual championship win, as we celebrate the ACO, Chris Jericho. So then Matt Menard got on the mic. He ended up introducing Luigi Primo. Yes, the same guy that we saw 2 weeks ago on Dynamite that got kicked and laid out by Ethan Page. And this guy's gimmick is flipping pizzas, flipping pizza dough. Yeah, that's Luigi Primo. That's his gimmick. So Matt Menard was like, oh, Luigi Primo, he's got the pizza from New York City. And he was like, no pizza for anybody. And then Anna Jay got on the mic. Anna Cringe. And we all knew where this was headed. Cringe and awful. Where the crowd was just chanting, we want pizza. Anna Jay got completely furious. She was telling the crowd to shut up. And she was like, I'll choke you out. I'll choke you out. God, it's so fucking awful. I don't even know what's worse. Chad Gable on Monday Night Raw going, oh, thank you. And shush. Or Anna Jay going, I'll choke you out. I'll choke you out. I can't tell which is worse. God, please don't let Anna Jay get on the mic again if she's going to keep doing this cringe with, I'm going to choke you out. I'm going to choke you out. Like I said, it is so fucking awful. Stop giving her the mic. So she ended up saying, after she said, I'm going to choke you out, we do get to see the greatest Ring of Honor champion of all time, to which she was referring to Chris Jericho. So Jericho then got on the mic. He ended up asking if the crowd wants pizza. He ended up saying that they can't have any. But what they can have is the most important Ring of Honor champion in history. Jericho wanted to say that in 1 week more, people have seen him with this belt, with the Ring of Honor World Championship, than any other, because no one knows about it. Jericho ended up saying that he's going to change Ring of Honor, and he ended up calling it the era of Ring of Jericho, and that it starts tonight. This new era starts tonight when he takes on Bandito. He ended up saying that sports entertainers beat wrestlers every single time. So then Jericho introduced Danny Garcia. He ended up saying that Danny Garcia is an amazing champion and sports entertainer. And Jericho had a gift for Danny Garcia. So Danny Garcia opened up the gift, and it was a purple bucket hat. Danny Garcia looked not too happy about that. Jericho ended up placing the bucket hat on Danny Garcia, to which Danny Garcia looked like Eminem with the hat on. He looked like he was about to bust a rap. So Danny Garcia ended up taking off the hat. He threw it down, and he knocked out Luigi Primo. Danny Garcia ended up saying, this is enough. It's not what I got into this business for. And he ended up saying to Jericho, I've had enough. And I want to tell you something, Chris. I think it's time for me to which Jericho ended up stopping Danny Garcia from talking. Jericho ended up telling Danny Garcia, I want you to think about this. This is a crossroads. And make the right decision. He ended up telling Danny Garcia, if you make the wrong one, I'll take you out. So Jericho ended up asking Danny Garcia if he's a sports entertainer or a pro wrestler. Danny Garcia stared back at Jericho, and the crowd was giving a loud chant of, you're a wrestler to Danny Garcia. And then Bryan Danielson ended up coming out. Bryan Danielson came down to the ring with William Regal. The crowd was giving him the yes chant, going, yes, yes, yes. So Bryan got on the mic. He ended up saying to Jericho that it seems to me you're trying to tell Danny Garcia what he's supposed to be. Bryan ended up saying that he respects Danny Garcia and that Danny Garcia can do whatever he wants. Bryan ended up telling Danny Garcia you can stay with the Jericho Appreciation Society. He ended up telling him if you want to come to the Blackpool Combat Club, you can come with us. So Jericho ended up telling Bryan to shut his mouth and how he's trying to poach Danny Garcia. And he ended up saying that he owns Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia ended up stepping up to Jericho, and he ended up telling him, I don't belong to you, and I don't gotta do nothing you tell me to do. He ended up saying, we're supposed to be entertaining. What if I picked up this pizza and threw it on the ground? Is that entertaining? Or toss dough with Luigi Primo? Or even tag with Justin Roberts? He ended up saying, do you think it would be entertaining if I teamed with Bryan Danielson? And the crowd popped for that. Can you imagine that? Seeing Bryan Danielson and Danny Garcia as a tag team? That would be awesome. So Danny Garcia ended up saying, well, how about we have a match? How about it's me and Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. So Matt Menard ended up interrupting. He kept saying, "We are sick of this. You had nothing, and we took you in, and now you want to spit in our face. I ought to knock you out right now." He said that to Danny Garcia. Bryan ended up saying, "Oh, well, you want to punch me in Philadelphia? Well, I have good news." He had to tell Matt Menard, "I was told I can come out and have a match with anyone wanting to fight me. And you said that." So Bryan was like, now we got the entertainer, Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, versus the heart of pro wrestling, Bryan Danielson, right here, right now. And that was how the segment ended, but I thought this was a good opening to Dynamite tonight. You know, the Jericho Appreciation Society coming out there, giving Jericho a celebration. You know, Jericho win the Ring of Honor World Championship. And Jericho has won every title. So that is awesome of him. Jericho is the greatest of all time. But everything was good in this segment except for Anna Jay with her, "I'm going to choke you out. I'm going to choke you out." God, if she keeps, like I said, if she keeps doing that, just don't even hand her a mic. Please. It comes off cringe. And then we had the first match of the night, Matt Menard versus Bryan Danielson. And this was a good match. This was an entertaining match. William Regal, of course, was on commentary for the match. And the commentary between William Regal and Excalibur, it's always great. So Matt Menard ended up getting Bryan in the corner. And we had Bryan end up stomping on Matt Menard's arm. He ended up getting Menard in the corner. Menard came back, started delivering some chops to Bryan. Bryan ended up delivering an uppercut to Menard. Bryan went up to the top, and Menard ended up knocking him off to the outside. So as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we saw Matt Menard. He was in control of Bryan. He delivered a clothesline to Bryan, and he delivered a lariat, and he ended up going for the cover, to which Bryan kicked out at 2. Menard started stomping away on Bryan. Bryan fought back, and he was delivering some chops to Menard. So Bryan delivered a moonsault out of the corner to Menard, and also delivered a flying forearm. Menard was in the corner. Bryan ended up hitting a run drop kick, and we had later on in the match, Angelo Parker ended up causing a distraction. Angelo Parker delivered a DDT to Bryan on the floor. So that led to Matt Menard delivering a powerbomb. He ended up going for the cover, and Bryan ended up kicking out. So out came Claudio Castagnoli. Claudio came out, and he ended up carrying Angelo Parker on his shoulders to the back. Bryan ended up hitting the Busaku knee to Matt Menard, and he locked in the label lock, and Menard ended up tapping out. So there you go. Bryan ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a very good match, very entertaining match from Bryan and Menard here. Though I thought it was funny when Claudio Castagnoli came out, picked up Angelo Parker, carried him all the way to the back. So then we saw Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta ended up storming down to the ring, and he was calling out MJF, because of what happened last week at Grand Slam. So Wheeler Yuta, he was calling out MJF. He was like, "We have a problem, and it isn't your army or try and cheap shot me with the ring, because I've been hit by harder and better men." So Wheeler Yuta ended up saying, "But you have the audacity to put your hands on Tony Schiavone, who's done more than you ever will." He ended up saying, "What better punishment than to come down and fight me in my city?" So Wheeler Yuta really wanted to get his hands on MJF. So Wheeler Yuta was like, oh, we all know MJF likes to hide behind all his groups, even the mic. And he kept saying that Max knows when the bell rings, he can't hang with me. So then MJF ended up coming out. MJF got on the mic. He ended up saying to cut his music. He ended up calling Philly the place you live if you can't afford to live in New York. He started running down Tony Schiavone, ended up calling him a fat old prick who will do nothing. So he ended up calling Tony Schiavone a coward. So then MJF ended up giving a little bit of praise to Wheeler Yuta about their time when they were on the Indies. MJF was like, however, you made a mistake going toe-to-toe with Daddy, and Daddy had to spank you. So you're saying to Wheeler Yuta, you say I don't care, but you're taking time away from the biggest draw in the company, in AEW. He ended up saying that you have as much charisma as Joe Frazier, who is dead, by the way. He ended up saying that it's almost like at 26 years of age, I don't care because I make more money than anyone here. He ended up saying, I make more money than anyone at home because, and then Wheeler Yuta ended up interrupting, and he ended up saying that he doesn't care about MJF and how much money he makes. He just wants to leave him in a pool of blood on Broad Street. So Wheeler Yuta ended up telling MJF, bad things happen in Philadelphia, and tonight is no exception. So Wheeler Yuta ended up going after MJF, and the Gun Club, Austin and Colton Gunn, end up coming out. Of course, they are part of the Firm, which that group did nothing for me when they were introduced. So MJF ended up pretending that he wanted to wrestle Wheeler Yuta. And MJF ended up saying that he won't face Yuta until next week on Dynamite in Washington, D.C. So MJF ended up saying, I'm going to the press box and I'm going to watch Moxley be a horrible wrestler and maybe cash his chip in on the Blackpool Cuckold Club. So MJF ended up walking off, and the Gun Club ended up finishing MJF's catchphrase because MJF was like, oh, this city doesn't deserve to hear me say my catchphrase. So he ended up letting Austin and Colton Gunn finish off the catchphrase, and pretty much that was basically that. But it was funny last week when MJF ended up calling the Blackpool Combat Club the Blackpool Cuckold Club, which I was laughing. But I thought this was a good segment. You know, we're going to be getting the match next week. MJF versus Wheeler Yuta in Washington, D.C. So now we got a video package of Darby Allen and Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh all in there. So it looks like we're going to get a match, just going to be Darby Allen versus Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal will be, on his own, so it'll be a one-on-one match. So you won't have Sanjay Dutt or Satnam Singh by him, accompanying him out there. And then we had Jon Moxley versus Juice Robinson. This was a AEW World Championship eliminator match. If Juice Robinson won the match, he would get to face Jon Moxley next week for the AEW World Championship. And this was a pretty good match here. Juice Robinson, he's from New Japan. Haven't seen the guy wrestle, but from what I saw in this match here with Jon Moxley, Juice Robinson, he was pretty good. Juice Robinson ended up making his way out first, and then Jon Moxley made his way through the crowd, and he made his way slowly down to the ring. Juice Robinson took Moxley out from behind. He threw Moxley into the barricade, and the bell hasn't even sounded. The bell didn't even ring. So Juice Robinson ended up delivering some headbutts to Moxley. He threw Moxley into the ring, and the match got underway. The bell rang. Moxley immediately clotheslined Robinson over the ropes to the outside, and he ended up throwing Robinson into the barricade. Moxley delivered a snap suplex to Robinson onto the floor, and he ended up sliding into the ring to break up the count by the ref. So we had both men were exchanging forearm shots. Robinson had a short advantage in the match. Moxley ended up kicking Robinson in his ribs. So Robinson got back up, and he was biting Moxley's head. Robinson then clotheslined Moxley in the corner, and he ended up running into a lariat delivered by Moxley. Robinson ended up avoiding a Death Rider by pushing Moxley out of the ring, and he ended up driving Moxley hard into the barricade. So we had Juice Robinson. He was busted open, in the mouth and also his eye, and Moxley was just bleeding as well. So both guys were bleeding here. So both men got back on the outside, and Robinson started pounding away at Moxley's head. Robinson then delivered a snap suplex to Moxley on the outside, and he broke up the count by the ref. Mox was sitting on a chair on the outside, and Robinson was just headbutting Moxley over and over and over again. Robinson then delivered a flip senton, and Moxley ended up avoiding that. And Moxley delivered a suicide dive to Robinson. Both men were back down. So Moxley and Robinson were exchanging some lariats. Moxley delivered a big cutter to Robinson. He ended up going for the cover. Robinson kicked out at 2, to which Moxley then transitioned into an ankle lock. And we saw Robinson was just scrambling to the ropes. So at the end of the match, we had Moxley end up delivering some stomps to Robinson. He ended up locking in a cross arm breaker on Robinson, and Robinson ended up tapping out. So there you go. Jon Moxley ended up winning the match. So Juice Robinson won't be getting a shot against Jon Moxley next week for the AEW World Championship. Post-match, Hangman and Page's music ended up hitting. He ran down to the ring. He got face-to-face with Moxley. Hangman ended up wanting to fight Moxley right then and there. So MJF got on the mic. He ended up saying to both Moxley and Page, "Ladies, settle down. You aren't fighting each other. You're fighting to lose to me. And I will be the new AEW World Champion because I am a generational talent." Which that is what MJF was saying. So we saw Wheeler Yuta. He was behind MJF. So MJF turned around, and Yuta delivered a right hand to MJF. He started beating the hell out of him. We had security end up coming out, and Yuta ended up fighting the security off. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was a good match from Moxley and Juice Robinson. Like I said, this is the first time I've seen Juice Robinson wrestle on AEW television. So he's pretty good. And then we saw a video package showcasing Bandito. It was a highlight reel and a history about him and when he was in Ring of Honor. It was good that they did this to get people to know who Bandito is. I never seen Bandito wrestle before. And then we had Saraya. Saraya ended up coming out. This, of course, Paige, when she was in WWE. So she made her debut last week at Grand Slam, which that was unexpected to me. My reaction to Saraya debuting was just, what? I was so shocked to see Saraya there. I didn't even know that they signed Saraya. So Saraya came out, got a big pop from the Philly crowd, and she ended up getting on the mic. She ended up saying, I got chills coming out because of you guys. And then she was like, I'm back. So the crowd started chanting, welcome back. Saraya ended up going, so you missed me? She ended up saying that it's fantastic to be back, and I'm damaged, but not broken. Saraya ended up saying that the reason why she is here is because she wants to change the women's division. She ended up saying, I am the revolution. So Saraya ended up saying that she's nervous and that AEW is officially my house. She ended up saying, and I'll leave the ring when I'm ready. So she ended up introducing some of the females of the women's division. We saw Toni Storm, the interim AEW Women's World Champion, Athena, Will Nightingale, Sky Blue, and Madison Rayne. Three of those women, three of those five women are jobbers, in my opinion, aside from Toni Storm and Athena. So Saraya was asking for a round of applause for them. And, I thought she was going to bring out the whole entire women's division, but it was just, Madison Rayne and Toni Storm, Athena, Will Nightingale, and Sky Blue coming out. And some of the talent couldn't make it on the show tonight because of Hurricane Ian going down there in Florida. It's very tragic. It's a big hurricane. Last I saw was a Cat 4 hurricane. So because of that, probably some of the stars down there couldn't make it to Philly tonight for Dynamite because, of course, the airports are closed because of this hurricane. So Saraya ended up saying that she's going to make a change. She introduced Toni Storm, and she ended up saying that she is finally being used to her potential, and that she is the best champion AEW has seen. She ended up saying, I am honored to be in the ring with you. She was telling that to Toni Storm. And then Britt Baker ended up coming out. She came out, of course, with Rebel and Jamie Hayter, and Penelope Ford was out there. Penelope Ford, in that makeup that she was wearing, she looked like a zombie coming out there. So Britt Baker ended up interrupting. She ended up saying, well, we've got a shiny new toy here. I don't know if you know, but I am the face of the division. Baker ended up saying that I put my blood, sweat, tears, and even my neck, and like yours, mine can handle it. She ended up saying that you run this place, but half the people can't pronounce your name. So Saraya was like, oh, that's cute, but your name rhymes with, and they bleeped it out. I guess Saraya ended up calling Britt Baker a bitch, so they bleeped it out. So Baker ended up running down Toni Storm, ended up saying that she's a victim, because last week, her and Athena broke her nose. Yeah, they did break Britt Baker's nose, and that's why she was bleeding last week. And Britt Baker had a Band-Aid on her nose tonight. But Britt Baker was like, oh, that's not why we are here. So Britt Baker ended up praising Serena Deeb and Jamie Hayter. She ended up saying, one misstep from you, Toni, we're going to hear and new. So Serena Deeb ended up coming out. Saraya ended up saying, I have eyes and I have ears. She ended up saying that she talked to Tony Khan and that they were going to have a Lumberjack match instead for the interim AEW Women's World Championship. So Saraya then ended up leaving the ring. She got on commentary for the match, Serena Deeb versus Toni Storm. Lumberjack match. The interim AEW Women's World Championship was on the line. But overall, I thought the segment wasn't that great in my opinion. So it's cool to see Saraya, get on the mic again. It's been a while since we heard her, on the mic. But if Saraya is still not cleared to compete, and she's just there to just manage and just talk and start like a whole new division, and she's not going to wrestle, then Tony Khan just wasted his money bringing in Saraya. If they're not going to clear her to wrestle. So that's how I see it. If they're not going to make Saraya wrestle, if they're not going to clear her, then Tony Khan just wasted all his money. But I heard that WWE wanted to re-sign Saraya, and then Tony Khan just got her just like that. So Tony Khan must have been like, no. She was once yours. Now she's mine. But like I said, if they are not clearing Saraya to wrestle, then why is she going to be there if she's not going to wrestle? So it would be a big waste of money on Tony Khan for signing her and just letting her probably not do anything if they're not going to clear her to compete. And I hope that they do clear her and we see her back in the ring. But then we had Lumberjack match, Serena Deeb versus Toni Storm, interim AEW Women's World Championship on the line. This was a solid women's match here. We had both Serena Deeb and Toni Storm going down with some shoulder tackles. We had Toni Storm and send Serena Deeb outside the ring. And the babyface Lumberjacks ended up throwing Serena Deeb back into the ring. So Toni Storm started with her chops to Serena Deeb. So Toni Storm ended up powering Serena Deeb up to the top turnbuckle. And we had Serena Deeb is sent out of the ring. And the heel Lumberjack started attacking Serena Deeb. And the others came across, for a face-off. And at the end of the match, we had Toni Storm end up winning the match. Toni Storm end up reversing a avalanche pile driver because Serena Deeb ended up hitting the dragon screw in the corner from the second rope. Toni Storm reversed it with the avalanche pile driver. And there you go. Toni Storm ended up winning the match, retaining the interim AEW Women's World Championship. Overall, solid Lumberjack match. And then we saw the Acclaimed, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. They were backstage with Billy Gunn and Tony Schiavone. And the Acclaimed ended up winning the titles last week at Grand Slam where they defeated Swerve in Our Glory, Keith Lee, and Swerve Strickland. And I knew it was going to be predictable because I called that the Acclaimed was going to win the titles in New York here at Grand Slam. And they actually did, but it was a good moment when they won it. And you had the confetti popping out. So we had Max Caster end up saying that next week is National Scissor Day. So bring your shirts, your signs, and your scissors. He ended up saying that on Friday. We have an open contract to defend the AEW World Tag Team titles. So then Keith Lee ended up walking up. Keith Lee was by himself. He did not have Swerve Strickland by him. Swerve Strickland wasn't even on the show tonight, I guess, because he's stuck out there, in Florida because of the hurricane. Like he was supposed to be on the show. Samoa Joe was supposed to be on the show tonight, but they couldn't make it because of the hurricane down there. So Keith Lee walked up. He ended up saying, "You boys got carried. Good luck." So Billy Gunn ended up saying that he has 2 words for Swerve. Scissor me. So Keith Lee ended up walking off, and that was basically that. And then we saw the AFO, the Andrade family office. They were arguing with Private Party, and they were telling them to shape up or get out. Matt Hardy ended up coming up. He ended up telling them to quit your deal, and I'll be waiting here. He ended up saying Big Money Matt won't let you down. So pretty much that was basically that. And then we had a squash match, Ricky Starks versus Eli Isom. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Starks delivered a spear to Eli and then delivered the Rochambeau, and that's it. Ricky Starks ended up winning. Main event, Chris Jericho versus Bandito. The Ring of Honor World Championship was on the line, and this was a very good match here. This was a very entertaining match. Haven't seen Bandito wrestle before, and I gotta say, he was pretty good in this match tonight with Chris Jericho. So Bandito ended up coming out, got a good ovation from the Philadelphia crowd. We had Ian Riccaboni, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He was on commentary for the match. And they ended up running down how Bandito didn't lose the Ring of Honor World Championship because Bandito was a former Ring of Honor World Champion. And he needed to vacate it. Bandito needed to vacate the title. So Jericho ended up offering the rematch. So Jericho made his way down to the ring. He has Bat Floyd in hand. So the match ended up starting. We got Bandito was looking to go for a handshake, and Jericho ended up rejecting the Code of Honor, ended up flipping off Bandito. Jericho then started attacking Bandito. So Bandito ended up showing off his high-flying quality, which was great. He delivered a tope suicida. He followed up with another high-flying move to Jericho. He ended up diving out of the ring and hit the tornado to Jericho. So we had Jericho end up showing his aggressive side by launching Bandito into the ring steps outside the ring. Jericho then ended up getting thrown over the top rope by Bandito. Jericho climbed the turnbuckles and he jumped down and he got hit with a super kick by Bandito. Bandito then ended up holding up Jericho and he delivered a delayed vertical suplex, to which Bandito followed it up with a huge frog splash onto Jericho. So he went for the cover. Jericho ended up kicking out. Jericho then got up and planted Bandito down, and he followed up with a boot to Bandito's face. Jericho started delivering some chops to Bandito, and then a running clothesline in the corner. And we had Bandito and Jericho end up heading up to the top turnbuckle. Bandito then ended up pushing Jericho down off the top turnbuckle. So Bandito leaped off, and Jericho delivered the code breaker in midair to Bandito, which was cool. And then Jericho went for the cover. Bandito ended up kicking out. So I think Bandito's nose was broken here because you couldn't actually see it, but you saw the blood on the mask. So Bandito must have had a broken nose here. So we had Bandito later on. He ended up coming up on top of the Hurricanrana, which sent Jericho out to the floor. So both guys were back inside the ring. They ended up going with some chops back and forth. So Bandito ended up going for a drop kick. Jericho ended up avoiding that and hit the lion salt to Bandito. So Jericho ended up going for the cover. Bandito ended up kicking out. Bandito then tried to knee Jericho in the face, and he ended up getting caught by Jericho. Jericho countered that into the walls of Jericho. And so Bandito then ended up crawling to the ropes to break up the walls of Jericho. So both guys end up heading up to the top rope. Bandito ended up hitting a awesome moonsault fallaway slam combo on Jericho. So he ended up going for the cover. Jericho ended up kicking out. So we had Jericho end up poking Bandito in the eye, and he pulled down on Bandito's mask. He pulled the mask down over Bandito's eyes, so Bandito couldn't see anything. So Bandito almost caught Jericho with a roll-up. Jericho kicked out, and he ended up sending the Lion Tamer to Bandito, and Bandito ended up tapping out. So there you go. Chris Jericho ended up winning the match, retaining the Ring of Honor World Championship. Post-match, Jericho got on the mic, and he ended up saying, "I am going to destroy Ring of Honor and desecrate everything." He ended up saying that he's going to beat every Ring of Honor championship holder. So he ended up making the match. He ended up saying to Bryan Danielson, that on October 12th, which that's the Dynamite that's going to be taking place in Toronto, Jericho was like, "You, me, Ring of Honor World Championship." So then Jericho was like, "I am going to destroy every Ring of Honor commentator, every Ring of Honor ring announcer, and every Ring of Honor wrestler." So then Jericho ended up attacking Bobby Cruz, who is the announcer. So Jericho then ended up holding up the Ring of Honor World Championship, and that was how Dynamite went off the air tonight. Overall, I thought this was a very good match from Jericho and Bandito. Bandito was pretty good here. Like I said, I haven't seen any of Bandito's matches, but he put up a good fight here with Jericho. Even though we all knew the outcome of the match, it was predictable. We all knew that Jericho was going to retain the title. I mean, he won it just last week. But overall, Dynamite was a good show tonight, but I thought Grand Slam was the better show, in my opinion. But anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all Friday for SmackDown and AEW Rampage.